All right, let's go ahead and grade the assessments we just created previously. So the first thing I'm going to have you notice is when I click on this cell entry box here to put this grade in for a student, it brings up this grade detail overlay, which features our 0 through 4 SPG grading scale, as well as some comment codes. There's the comment code for late, retake, missing, enrichment, missing assessment, and insufficient evidence. The two that I think most teachers use are missing assessment and insufficient evidence. And these act as zeros, except they give the parents and the teachers commentary. So these are, I would say, better to use than just a plain old zero. So make sure you're using those. You can use any of the other ones as you see fit as well. I'm going to show you some options as well to get used to for the gradebook itself. And one of the things I'm going to do, which I don't recommend that you do right away, but you might like it later on, I'm actually going to turn this grade detail overlay off. I personally just prefer it off. You can do everything manually through the keyboard without clicking and clicking and clicking. Just feels quicker using my keyboard. So going up to options here, we have a few tabs we're going to run through. Student pictures, that's a good one to have on. Attach the name to the face, right? A few other ones here you can play around with, but I'll just leave that one at that. Grading, here's grade detail overlay. I'm going to turn that one off. That's personal preference. Comment codes, I'm going to turn that on because if I put an MA or an IE in the gradebook, I want to be able to see it. I don't just want it to be invisible and be acting as a zero on their final grade, right? We're going to ignore at-risk highlight percentage for now. I'm putting it at 25%, but you should be able to put it at 1 in terms of flagging students that are just on the threshold of an F, basically. But yeah, notes on that later. And that's all I'm going to adjust here, but there's plenty more you can mess around with. And assignments, the one thing I'd talk about here is column width. Does exactly what you think. It adjusts the widths of the columns. And I'll make this one, I'll go right there for this one. Header fields aren't going to do much because we don't have many numbers in the gradebook. I do like putting median score and average score on occasion and maybe some other ones, but feel free to mess around with that later. We won't talk about analysis bands in this video, but there is something there. If you're brave enough, go ahead and check that out for yourself. Okay, so let's actually put in some grades. And as you can see, I clicked on that grade entry cell and no overlay popped up. And I personally like navigating the gradebook with my arrow keys on my keyboard. It just makes everything more precise. So first thing I want to talk about, don't put grades into the standard score column. Don't put grades here. Don't put grades over here. Don't do that. Just put them where you see the column with the actual assessment in it. This or this, this or this, so on and so forth. Avoid this. You'll get into overwriting stuff and it becomes kind of a mess. So it will actually flag with a sort of green color if you do it. So it'll be kind of easy to notice and fix, I suppose. All right, I'm going to first start by grading the quizzes. So let's assume this first student maybe gets a 1 on this. That's equivalent to a D, right? So doesn't do too well, getting over the summer. Gets a 2 on this one. Maybe they're ramping up, and maybe they do really well on this last one. They get a 4. So in order for this stuff to calculate through, we're going to have to save. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. And now you can see there's an actual number in the standard score. That's why I'm saying don't put stuff in here. It's going to do sort of a calculation to get that cell going. So if you put a number in there, you just kind of break the calculation. And okay, so we got all these 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's averaging over here. It's taking the average of each individual SLO or standard, if you wish. So 1 plus 2 plus 4, that gives us 7. Divide that by 3, that gives us 2.33. So that's your score. That's equivalent to a C. All right, so next you might be really used to averaging, which the final calculation is technically an average, but when we talk about assessments that are building up to individual SLO scores, these are not averaged. These only take the most recent score, the most recent test, the most recent assessment, whatever grade a student got on that, that's what they get for the score on that SLO. So maybe the student got a 1 here and they got a 2 over there and a 4 here. Now when they take the test, all of those quiz grades are going to get replaced. We're kind of building progress. Hey, you're here. How do you get to where you want to get? Maybe a 3 or a 4. And let's say the student does get a 3 here, and maybe they get a 4 here, doing really well, and maybe they actually go down here. Now you might think, oh, okay, this is going to end up averaging out to be a 2. No, their most recent score is a 3, so that's just going to be replaced with this 3. So it's keeping the most recent. So I'm going to save. And by the way, it can go in the opposite direction. If you do well on the quiz, but maybe you didn't retain some of this information as much, it does go down. So clicking save again, and you can see it's only keeping the test score grades. It's only keeping the test score grades. But still a pretty decent grade, right? So again, it's only averaging, the final score is only averaging this 3, 4, 3. Adding those together, dividing by 3 in this case. And now let's see, let's do another one. I'll have this student miss some tests. Maybe you missed the first few days of school. So MA here, MA here. Then he comes and takes the 1.3 quiz and gets a 1 on it. Okay, hit save. You can see those MAs are calculating as zeros. The student's grade also flagged over here. Okay, let's have them do the test now. Maybe they do end up replacing this grade. We could always replace it. Maybe we'll do that with this one. Maybe he says, I just want to take the test. I can show you that I know this content. Okay, prove it. Maybe they do. Maybe they get a nice 2. That's like, okay, cool. And then over here, maybe they said, okay, I want some practice. I will take the quiz. And so to get rid of an MA, if you don't have the overlay, you actually do an exclamation point. I actually do that and press enter. You can see the MA disappeared. And then I'm going to put my grade in. So maybe they get a 3 on this. And then maybe they match that 3 on the test. And then, okay. So now they got the 1 on that test. Maybe they're doing pretty good. Maybe they get a 3 over here as well. Let's just save that. And there we go. As you can see how it's calculating through the MA, even though you didn't take this quiz, it's not hurting them at all. Maybe they proved to you that they had enough knowledge to take the test. So you gave them the test and they said, oh yeah, okay. They were able to pull it off. And so that's pretty much it. That's how the grade calculations are running through. That's an example of what a typical grading procedure might look like for maybe one full unit, right? So other than that, rinse and repeat.